Hey, everybody, welcome to Friar Territory, part of the Foul Territory Network. I am Darren Smith, along with Marty Caswell. First show of the week. The Padres are in New York, where they have every base runner thrown out at home. We'll get to that coming up here in a little bit. Obviously, what's happening on the field with just a couple of weeks to go during the regular season is of massive importance and primarily what it is that we're talking about. But on Monday, it was made official that the Padres ownership vote had taken place, and unanimously by MLB owners have Kwanza Jones and Jose Feliciano been approved to be the next owners of the San Diego Padres. So, Marty, let us start there because I know the base running is what got everybody's hot and bothered, and you know you're on a razor's edge here when it comes to the wild card standings. The Padres still in possession of one of the wild card spots, but I do think some things are probably a little bit bigger than the details of an individual baseball game, and it feels to me. And I'm kind of curious to know your emotions and emotions from fans about how they feel now that this, had been suspected for a while. Even the date had mostly been known, but now it is official. And MLB voters, which is owners, which they are prone to do, voted unanimously to approve the sale and move forward with Kwanza Jones and Jose Feliciano. How does that land with you?
I'm glad it's finally over. I'm glad that it's finally official. I know we played these quotes from Manny Machado previously saying that it's been like a really, really weird offseason and what's going on? Why is it taking so long? He had mentioned early in the process he had been texting with Jose Feliciano and he's wondering why he hadn't heard from him in a while. So I'm glad that there is finality to this situation, Darren. Next Monday at Petco Park when the Padres, I believe they have the Pirates in town, they will finally introduce Kwanza and Jose. Can we we had like we need to go ahead and combine the names to come up with a nice nickname, nice and easy, right?
Like Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston.
What was their nickname?
Or J-Lo and Ben Affleck.
Yes, we need one of those
power couples.
We need,
they usually have some sort of combined name. Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm surprised nobody ever thought about that for us over the years.
Okay. Darren, it was a hard enough process thinking of the name of the show. But I'm just glad that there's finally finality and we're finally going to find out what these people are all about because we don't know. We can read about the philanthropy, the community, how much money they have, what they're invested in, but we don't know anything about them. Yeah, it's nostalgic because today I'm going through some footage from 2023 and it was AJ Preller and Eric Grupner standing up there at Padres spring training and they were being besieged about this is the team that had Juan Soto on the team and what's going to happen? Are you going to sign him? You're going to trade him? And anything is possible. And he was being asked, I think, by Bob Nightingale about sustainability. Like, how can you go ahead and do this? Kevin Acey's peppering him, like, how smart is this? And I'm just struck by the words that Peter had to say, that this was about building trust with your fans, And the phrase I love, there's a risk to doing nothing. Peter tried everything. He talked about what it meant to go ahead and give Padres fans, like, exciting players, And Eric Grupner's up there talking about the very first time for the Padres at Petco Park. In team history, they had a season ticket waiting list. They've had it every single year since. And it's because of the vision and the team and the exciting players that Peter Seidler brought into the organization with AJ Preller. Like, as much as their criticism this season, trade Manny, trade Tatis, trade Jackson Merrill, it's a bust. Go ahead and reset. Let's start all over it. There is a reason. There's a reason, Darren, why the Padres have one of the top. They have a season ticket waiting list. Why they're going to pass 3 million fans for 4 straight years this season. Why they've had back-to-back, trips to the postseason for the first time in team history. There's a huge reason, and it all starts with Peter Seidler and his vision. So, yeah, I just want to start by saying that for Kwanza and Jose, which I'm sure they know, they have massive shoes to fill when it comes to continuing Peter's vision and sustaining what he built in San Diego. It's a really special thing. We can look around and see other teams that are kind of in contention, that are right there in the mix for a playoff spot, Darren. And we'll talk about the Diamondbacks. They're not drawing what the Padres are drawing, and there's a huge reason for it. What was your question?
The Tampa Rays don't draw, right? And they're one of the best teams in all of baseball. And the reason why the Tampa Rays don't draw, and you get a lot of people out there. There's a lot of smart people who will be like, wow, the Tampa Rays, wow, what a smart organization. And most people will say, well, it's a crappy ballpark, and maybe geographically it doesn't make a ton of sense, baseball, whatever. But, part of it, and I don't think you can really dispute this, part of it is that fans know that the Tampa Rays, the second somebody is approaching any sort of opportunity to make a little bit of money, the Tampa Bay Rays say goodbye, and they move on from those players. And, so do the Milwaukee Brewers. And I do think that has, an impact on fans. Now, again, I'm not sitting here trying to justify all of these long-term contracts because I don't think that they are all justifiable.
They're not.
They do exist here. And I do think that for a long time, Marty and you and I have been doing this for a long time, as a matter of fact. Like, we're two of however many people that can remember the last time the Padres went back-to-back to the postseason in 2005 and 2006. There's just some people that aren't old enough to have remembered that. So, not their fault. But, I do think that is one of the things that Padre fans really, really despise, is that the second we get used to, we just talked about this when Fernando Tatis Jr. passed Nate Colbert on the all-time home run list. We both lived through Phil Nevin getting close and then getting traded, and Adrian Gonzalez getting close and then getting traded. And, the situations were different. In Adrian Gonzalez's case, though, it was quite clear the Padres couldn't afford to pay that player. Mm-hmm. Plain and simple. You think what you want about Adrian. I know, he's somebody who ruffles fans' feathers a little bit, but the Padres flat out couldn't pay a player who grew up in San Diego County, who would have been a perfect Padre.
Perfect Padre. Perfect.
And, again, I'm not, I know people have their reasons or what have you for some of the stuff that happened after he got traded, but that's part of what it was that was going on. And so then the flip side was it an overcorrection to give out all these long-term contracts? Who can say? But yes, I agree. I think it's bittersweet. Back to the question that I asked you. I do. I think it's bittersweet. I agree wholeheartedly with what it is that you said. The Padres today are not the Padres of 10 years ago. The Padres today fetched a $3.9 billion valuation. That is not something that we just would not have thought about that, 10 years ago, 20 years ago at all. Certainly that you would get this eye-popping price tag at $3.9 billion. So I agree with you. They do have huge shoes to fill.
Yep.
And, maybe they will, maybe they won't. Nobody can tell you this. I remain optimistic. I understand the background. I understand the world that they come from. Mm-hmm. I understand Marty, too. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of reporting on Monday night from Dennis Lynn of The Athletic, that Bedad Egbali, who is Jose Feliciano's partner at Clear Lake Capital, is going to be one of the owners that he is buying in. And, I don't know that is good news. And you could say, well, it's not private equity, but it is the two guys who run one of the largest private equity firms on planet Earth, who are controversial figures in London because of their majority ownership of Chelsea Football Club. And don't get me started about Mark Walter and Todd Bowley and the Dodgers and everything else that's happening there, because these guys are all connected. These guys are all connected, whether they like each other or don't like each other, or whether this is simply just a business. I don't know. We can say that for a different show.
Okay.
But, I'm with you. I do think it is a bit bittersweet. I am excited to see what the future brings, because I think the status quo over the last couple of years, though it has produced back-to-back trips to the postseason, and it does look like this team, it is like 50-50 to go to the postseason according to the mathematical permutations. It's been an interesting run, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bittersweet today, because you do realize what is coming to an end. And seeing Sheil Seidler's post and seeing some of the reaction, Sheil Seidler, for those that are listening to Friar Territory via audio podcast, with a heavy heart, I'm sharing this news, but also so much gratitude for the journey Peter and I shared with the Padres. I believe the sale to Jose Feliciano and Kwanza Jones reflects what Peter would have wanted for the team and for San Diego. He cared deeply about building a legacy that brought people together, championed diversity, and opened doors for others. I'm grateful that Jose and Kwanza share that vision and are investing in the future of the Padres here in San Diego. This chapter closes one door, opens another for the team that we love. To the Friar faithful, thank you for your support, your kindness, and honoring Peter's legacy. I will always carry his light forward. And listen, you and I mean, we can admit this, and then we'll come back, we'll talk about the baseball. Mm-hmm. We did have a personal relationship with Peter and with Sheil. I still have text messages on my phone from both of them. So, and you do as well, and so do other people. It doesn't, we're not we're in a minority, but we're not in an exclusive category there. And part of what we're saying here today is based on the relationship that we formed with Peter and with Sheil and with the Seidler family. And, as excited as you possibly can be to see things progress and move forward. Mm-hmm. And maybe maybe that post from Sheil Seidler, maybe it's reassuring in some capacity. But it
breaks your heart. It breaks your heart a little bit at the same time.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Ultimately, we won't know, but that's life. You move forward. That's the whole point of this, is that you just keep putting one foot in front of another and you move forward, and we'll find out and we'll hear what Kwanza Jones and Jose Feliciano have to say when they're introduced next Monday at Petco Park. When we return, we'll talk a little bit more just to put a bow on it, and then we'll talk about the Padres running the bases at Citi Field in Queens, New York. That's coming up next on Friar Territory. All right, Marty, let's talk about SeatGeek because, as mentioned here, we're down to 33 games left during the regular season. I heard the CEO of the Padres on the Padres flagship station on Tuesday morning talking about how there were only 12 home games in the month of September. So if you want to go to any of these games, SeatGeek is for you. SeatGeek is MLB's official ticket marketplace. Your tickets are fully guaranteed, instantly fulfilled right into your account as soon as you purchase them. One of the things that I love about SeatGeek, having used it for different events, different sporting events, whether it's baseball, concerts, what have you, is they do rate the seats, so you know exactly what it is that you're getting yourself into. 35 million downloads. SeatGeek, absolutely a must-have if you're thinking about going to a sporting event.
Darren, there's a total of 18 games left at Petco Park, starting with the Pirates next on the Twins, and then the Pirates. If you want to get your Jackson Merrill bobblehead on August 24th, only one place to go, and that is SeatGeek. Or perhaps you want to watch the Yankees or the series that may count the most, the Arizona Diamondbacks, to end the season, because the Padres are determined to torture us until the very end. One place to go, baby, and that is SeatGeek.
You're 100% right about that. Again, the CEO said September is Fan Appreciation Month, so you're going to want to be there. Of course, we have a code for you guys, Territory 10, 10% off your next set of MLB tickets at SeatGeek. Click the link right there in the description. Download the app. Have that code automatically added to your account. Thank you, SeatGeek. Welcome back to Friar Territory, part of the Foul Territory Network. You can subscribe to Friar Territory on YouTube, wherever it is that you get your audio podcasts. I think we're due to remind our wonderful viewers and listeners and supporters, Marty, that if you want to subscribe, if you want to rate us, if you want to give us a good review, we can say the standard line, which is, you have no idea how much that helps us.
Well, no, it does. And Darren,
really
I get these emails every single day from YouTube, because I'm affiliated with different platforms, but everything on YouTube is changing. So we would really appreciate it if you make sure, as you're listening to this episode right now, listening and watching, make sure you like, subscribe, put in a comment. Darren loves to reply to comments on YouTube. So we appreciate that. Make sure you engage with us, and we'll engage right back. We appreciate you guys. We do. The changing, strange media market. So let's go.
Marty, are you thinking about what questions you're going to be asking to the new ownership group? Should you get called on Monday at a press conference?
I mean, I am. I have 1,000 questions, but I don't know if they're going to have like an opening statement in which they will go ahead and answer. I'm also curious as to when they're going to announce the full ownership group. Like, do you remember when it was when the Seidlers did it and they were going to go ahead and keep a seat open for Phil Mickelson, because he was going to be part of that original group? I'm very glad they did not leave that seat open. I just
remember a previous owner was like, Troy Aikman's going to be hanging around here. You're like, oh, Troy Aikman's going to be part of this ownership group. That's
I
cool.
do remember that. Oh, wow. Yeah. Oof. Yeah, so
these guys kind of come and go, and you're like, wait a second, what?
Yeah, it's kind of strange.
I don't know. I mean, I will say I didn't, I am trying to be open-minded. But as you know, Marty, I've spent way too much time in the Chelsea Football Club algorithm. But seeing the report from The Athletic about Big Dad Iqbali, is Jose Feliciano's partner. And again, everybody's going to say, well, it's not the private equity. It's not the private equity. It's not Clear Lake Capital. So it's just the two guys that are running it. I don't know. We have to wait. We have to hear a little bit more. But it just gets your mind going in different directions, I suppose. Who knows? You mentioned the statement. I think we probably should read the statement from the incoming owners here, because it is important. Can I just quickly editorialize?
Sure.
This is a screen grab off of Padres.tv for those that are watching. I have no idea why every word is capitalized, but don't let that distract you. We are a fan. This is a Kwanza Jones and Jose Feliciano. Okay. I mean, it's just like really an irritating way to put out a statement. Here's the quote. We are a family first, and becoming owners of the San Diego Padres means joining an even larger one. We are grateful to the Seidler family, and especially to Peter, for raising the expectations of what this franchise can achieve. Our ambition is clear: to bring a world championship to San Diego, build an enduring organization capable of competing for championships year after year. And that's about what you would expect. I think they probably hit the right notes there. They mentioned the Seidler family. They single Peter out, and they talk about their ambitions, which are building an organization, competing for championships, year after year and all that sort of stuff. So.
I mean, I appreciate that. I think it's pretty standard. I mean, I don't know that anyone buys a team and says, you know what, unless you're Artie Moreno, we're happy to be here. We're going to be owners and we're going to have cheap beer and cheap hot dogs and parking prices. I mean, I think the question is obvious. I mean, you want continued investment in this. You want to keep it going, keep that vision going. You want to understand why ticket sales are the way they are. You keep investing in players. Give them jerseys they want to invest in. That's going to be important. I am curious, though. I know Eric Grupner, the press release in the Padres said that available for this presser, it's going to be Kwanza Jones, Jose, and Eric Grupner, who is the CEO, and I believe also has a minority stake in this team as well. Is there anybody else? I mean, what is the future? A lot of times these owners come in, they want their own people in. So I have general questions about their vision for the business side and their vision for the baseball side. So I'm curious as to how they will address that. We'll see.
I think Dennis also reported that one of the current owners is Alfredo Harpelu, who we've spoken about a little bit, that not only is he going to remain, but he's also going to increase his ownership stake. So
he's
again,
5% now?
They're opaque. I think it's tough to know exactly what it is that everybody owns and who exactly everybody is that's in there and involved. These things sometimes you're not quite clear. It's all just a little bit fuzzy. But again, some of the stuff matters, some of it does not. And I remember too, because people will ask this question, this is the standard sports radio thing to talk about today. What is the first thing that you want to see these guys do? And I started thinking, what was the first thing that Ron Fowler did? I don't really remember. What was the first thing that Peter Seidler did? I don't really remember.
The brown? When did we get the brown uniforms? What year was that?
I think it was pretty soon thereafter for Peter. I mean, what happened was Peter took over after 2020. So after the COVID season, he buys out Ron Fowler. But I think by then, Marty, they were wearing brown during 2020, weren't they? Didn't they have some big unveil before the 2020 season? So that might have been the one of the last things that Ron Fowler did. But, I don't really remember. So I don't know how important that is. I understand we all have to have things to talk about. We did it for 20 years. So I get it. I'm not knocking anybody in that space. I'm just simply wondering, I don't know. Does it matter what the first thing is that they do? Probably not.
Not if you keep winning.
No. I mean these guys hung around with Josh Burns for a little while when Ron Fowler came in. And then they brought in Mike D. Then they started moving some pieces around a little bit. And, it didn't take long before they were like, all right, Josh Burns isn't our guy. And let's get rid of Buddy. That was a couple of years later, though. They bought the team in 2012. They didn't really make any major changes until 2014 when they decided they were going to move on from their general manager, Josh Burns, and hire this goofy AJ Preller cat. So, I also think, too, what you said about investing in the team. I think this is, an interesting moment to bring this up because I just mentioned earlier, right, for the product on the field. The Padres at the trade deadline, I think you and I were talking about it, and I'm just, speaking in generalities here. And I know that sometimes these playoff odds, they change dramatically. But the Padres were less than 10% around the trade deadline because people use that as reason to not go out there and add, not to be buyers. Right. Why would you invest in a team that only had a 10%?
Fangraphs has it at this percentage. So what's the point of this?
And then, I think it's over 50 or it's close to 50 at this point. So just in a couple of weeks, the Padres have gone from, again, and I always remember 2021, that year that collapsed. The Padres had a 90+% chance, according to these same services, in early August. And then they completely soiled their sheets. So we know how that turned out. So, you always have to take these things with a pinch of salt. But I will say, the investment, even spending, Marty, just a couple of $1 million to upgrade at at the deadline, for as much as I'm preaching,
all the difference in the world. It made all the difference in the world.
Putting $5 million in there and increasing your odds of going to the playoffs fivefold, again, with these numbers, which whatever, should tell you something. It should tell you a little something that if you give them a little bit, just give them a little bit and think how much that impacted. Think about how much differently everybody feels about the Padres because of Robbie Ray and because of Casey
Mize.
And that was about $5 million plus some prospects. So it was about $5 million, which is, whatever. I can't do the math on what that means for.
No, but here's the difference. Darren.
It's a modest investment, and they've still massively boosted their chances of going to the playoffs.
Yeah, here's the difference. The players in that clubhouse. And we would hear what they would say, right? But don't tell me that if we're talking about it, I can promise you they're talking about it hey, TBD tomorrow. TBD and TBD are pitching in back-to-back games and games that count. That's where we're at. Peralta, you might be the opener. Kyle Hart is wondering, is Craig Stammen going to send him a text message the day of and say, hey, listen, bud, you're starting today's game. We're going to piggyback with German Marquez and kind of, hey, maybe something will happen. Lucas Giolito, whatever happened to that guy? Hey, maybe we'll get Musgrove back. Maybe we get Pivetta back. They invested. They went for it. And you've got Casey Mize, who has been much better, who is showing you why they traded for him, and you have Robbie Ray. So it made all the difference in the world having them back. You have to have pitching. So
you do. Yeah, I mean it's good analysis, Marty. Yep. You have to have pitching.
Got to have pitching, Darren.
I think everybody would agree with that. All right, let us come back and we'll just devote the final segment to what it was that happened on the field on Monday night in Queens, New York at Citi Field. So we'll get to that.
Do we have to? Hey, Jose, Kwanza, for your first day as official owners, we're going to give you a historic loss with 4 base-runner blooders not seen since 1920. Welcome to baseball, everybody.
What did we get ourselves into here? Yeah, well, welcome to the Padre family. That's more often quite like this than it is the opposite. We'll talk a little bit about it. Plus, an interesting choice from Craig Stammen, which I didn't realize. We'll talk about that all when we return. Final segment, Friar Territory, coming up next.
For the families out there looking for a new path to help your child succeed, take a look at K-12 Powered Schools. K-12 offers tuition-free accredited online public education for students in kindergarten through 12th grade. It's all in a setting that works for your family. And K-12 has been around. They've been a leader in online education for over 25 years, serving over 3 million families with flexible education options tailored to each child's needs, interests, and goals for the future. K-12's dedicated teachers are trained in virtual instruction and they provide real-time support. Hey, we've heard Todd Father on here talk about how his kids have gone through homeschooling and it's really helped them for a family that is very much on the move during his playing career. So you can see how K-12 Powered Schools can help unlock your child's full potential. Enroll online today at k12.com/FOUL. That's the letter K, the number 12.com/FOUL. K12.com/FOUL.
All right, Marty, the Padres lost to the New York Mets. These are one of those teams that we kind of looked and we're like, well, the schedule is really, it benefits the Padres because the Padres, here are the teams that are under 500 that the Padres are going to play. They're going to play the Mets for 2 more games. They're going to play the Twins, the Pirates, you already mentioned them, the Reds, the Nats, the Nationals, the Giants, Colorado for 4. The teams that are over 500, if you believe in some of these statistics, right? The Padres are 39 now and 23, 39 and 23 against teams that are under 500. Very good record. They will have to face the Rays, the Yankees, the Marlins, who are still over 500, still in that playoff picture, I suppose. The Dodgers, and, of course, the Diamondbacks. This really feels like this is all going to come down to that final series.
Oh, 100%.
It just does. I just feel like all of this stuff is wasted energy, but
I know.
We could be wrong. So, Padres lose 2-1 to the Mets. Again, I don't think you're going to sweep all 18 of those games against the
Andy
teams
Green,
that are
man.
under 500.
Andy Green, since becoming the Mets manager, a game over 500 with the New York Mets. What do we say about Hell Hath No Fury? Like an ex-manager fired after he was hired to be like the bridge guy to the next generation.
Yeah, nobody goes into Citi Field and runs on the Metropolitans. I mean, that's a saying as old as time, Marty. Everybody knows you don't just go up and show up and play the Mets and think you're going to run around the bases. I mean, it's been happening forever. But they do have these young players, and I guess these young players were up for the task. According to Kevin Acee of the Union Tribune, in his Padres Daily newsletter, Marty, on Tuesday, the Padres third base coach was unavailable for comment after the game.
Bob Henley.
Bob Henley. And this was a peculiar decision by Craig Stammen, according to your friend Kevin Acee. And I didn't realize that these coaches were so accessible after games.
They usually are.
Just go up to it because a lot of managers are like, you cannot talk to my coaches.
Yeah.
Do not talk to my coaches at all. Apparently, it is fair game to talk to any of the coaches here under Craig Stammen's watch, except for when the third base coach is the third base coach in a game where 3 different players end up being thrown out at home by outfield assists. I don't have any real issue with it. Kevin sort of says it's unfortunate decision-making from Stammen. I don't know that I necessarily agree. I don't know. Yeah, yes, I would love the insight from the third base coach to know what exactly it was, but I think we all know he's probably thinking, I want these guys to go ahead. I'm going to put some pressure on their outfield. We worked with third base coaches. we probably want to just put a little bit of pressure on the outfielders and see if they can come through. And guess what? They came through 3 out of 3 times. So, sometimes you're the, Marty, as they say, sometimes you're the cock of the walk and sometimes you're the feather duster.
By the way, I think the Padres policy, which I imagine came from AJ Preller, although he may have said it was Peter Seidler, but I think it was AJ Preller. I think the Padres policy on not letting coaches talk without prior permission ended, was it last year? Yeah, but usually they're pretty accessible. I would be shocked if Henley did not speak with the media today because, listen, that's the biggest point of the story. Walker Buehler, by the way, and we spent so much time in the last Friar Territory last week, right, giving him his flowers. He was excellent. You need to win those games. And they're quality start from Walker. You cannot forget about Walker Buehler, man. He is trending at the right time. I love that. I love watching him pitch. I really enjoy him. And by the way, who was he going after in the dugout? Was that Campy? Was it his catcher?
I don't know.
We don't know.
It was sort of open to interpretation. I don't think he really got into it. There were some who thought he was going after Michael King or a coach or an umpire. I thought it was also interesting that Walker Buehler acknowledged that he knew this video was going around, circling before he had even spoken to the media.
Yeah.
Maybe the media relations department's like, hey, just so you know, dude, by the time you go up there on the podium, like this video is making the rounds. You might want to have some sort of answer for it.
We're going to have lip readers out there breaking it down, but
yeah, I don't ever mind any stuff like that. Again, and I know it doesn't look good, and Jake Cronenworth goes tumbling ass over tea kettle, and Manny's not the fastest guy on planet Earth. Xander apparently runs through a stop sign, so that one it seems like Xander took responsibility for it. But listen, it's embarrassing. Everybody knows it's embarrassing, especially when you lose 2-1.
Difference in the game. 4 straight singles.
Sent home with 1 out.
4 straight singles to open a game, and you don't score a run. It was a strong. I was listening to the Padres radio flagship during part of that, and I thought Jesse Agler was going to die on the spot. Like, what are we watching here? I'm just going to say this, and you mentioned the odds, the playoff odds being at 50-50. If the Padres end up losing on a playoff spot by 1 game, there are plenty of games to look at. This is the one we're going to remember. And I would love to know if the Padres have like a meeting. This is not until the next one. Until the next one. But for right now,
had a lead in this game,
doesn't matter, man. It's the New York Mets.
I know.
4 base runners thrown at home for the first time since 1920. This was a turning point for your franchise with the sale of the team being official and going to Kwanza and Jose. And this is what you do. This is the game.
Do you have any objection to Bob Henley not being available?
Yes, you make him available. I'm sorry, that directly led to the outcome of this game. It's never happened before. Make him available. Do you have any objection
to a reporter bringing this to light and making sure everybody's aware of the facts?
By the way, it wasn't just him. I noticed that our friend AJ Caswell brought it up as well. So it's like, dude, this is the guy you want to speak to.
I haven't made the rounds,
Gonna make the rounds. This is why? Why would you do this? So
it's a thankless job.
I know.
You're a base coach. Nobody ever wants to talk to you when you have a great send that wins the game.
No.
But when Manny's slapped in the mug and belly flopping out there on the field, it doesn't look great, does it? So I don't know. I can move on and we'll see what happens. But
let's go to the standings, Darren.
Yeah, the standings here. You can see the Padres at 67-59. Yeah. So, they are hanging on to that 3rd wild card spot. The Diamondbacks got boat raced by the Red Sox. So, I guess it's good. When you're in possession of the wild card spot, it's good when another day comes off the calendar and you still remain in possession of said spot. But again, I think the point, Marty, is this team has played very well. They are 39-23 against sub-500 teams, and you don't want to squander these opportunities against these teams that are bottom of the barrel. You really, really don't. And, you don't want them feeling like, oh, okay, yeah, that team will do something. The Padres, it's more about... You think it's more about what the Padres did or more about what the Mets did that factored into the final result of the game? I suppose it's a bit of both. But, if you were to say, is this more about the Padres being blamed for some of their decision-making or credit to the Mets? How would you phrase it?
It's more what the Padres did. The Padres self-inflicted wounds. That's where I phrase it. All I'm going to say is today must-win game. Robbie Ray and Zach Thornton, because you mentioned Robert Stock goes tomorrow.
Oh yeah,
go get him.
Big Bob Stock.
This is it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't squander too much. I don't expect them to win them all. Remember, they lost the game against the Colorado Rockies a couple weeks ago. Maybe it was the Rockies. It was some bad team. And then they won the next 2. You're like, okay, yeah, I get it. You're not going to win all of these, but you got to win the majority of them. If you think you're going to go to the playoffs. For sure. All right. That will do it for Friar Territory. We will be back 2 more episodes to come later on this week. For Marty Caswell, I'm Darren Smith. Again, thank you for your support. We appreciate it. And one last reminder to go ahead, subscribe, to like, to leave a comment, do all of the things. And we'll talk to you next time right here on Friar Territory.
I'm looking forward to it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. Talk to you later.